Hey guys, John V from PhoneArena here. You're watching our video review of the Sharp AQUOS Crystal. So many phones in the past have been notable for the skinny bezels on the left and right sides of their displays, but where they've all kind of failed in achieving a uniform look, that's where Sharp comes in with the AQUOS Crystal. It's very noteworthy for the fact that the left, right, and even the top edges of the phone are pretty skinny due to its edgeless display. Alright, we'll admit that it has a very interesting looking original design that we actually find to be very favorable. For starters, it's pretty compact for a device with a 5-inch display, easy to hold in the hand thanks to the curved nature of its rear casing. Now it is constructed mostly out of plastic, but it looks like it has a metal trim bezel, which does nice to contrast the plastic. But again, what stands out here most is the edgeless display. And boy, is it really impressive. But before we go into that, let's talk about some of the other details about the display. It packs a 5-inch 720p LCD panel with a pixel density count of 794 pixels per inch. So it's pretty reasonably detailed, and seeing that Sharp is a big player in the TV space, you kind of see that they graced this with a pretty attractive looking display. It's kind of vibrant, so it has a subtle saturation to it. It's not the most accurate in terms of color reproduction, but it still manages to capture our attention because of its punchy colors. It has pretty good outdoor visibility too, just because it achieves a brightness output of over 400 nits. Now, many companies love to use the term edgeless with their displays, and the same thing is here with the Sharp AQUOS Crystal, but technically it's not truly edgeless just because there's still a little bit of space around the sides of the display. But what's really noteworthy here is that they've kind of reduced the size significantly from the top side. The left and right isn't too surprising, but the top edge, they've kind of made it the same width as the left and right. So in that manner, it looks really impressive for its almost edgeless look. In order for Sharp to keep the top bezel the same width as the left and right sides, they've added all the space we normally find at top edge and put it on the bottom bezel. That's where the handset's front-facing camera, its light proximity sensors, and notification light are all placed. Now, you might find it strange that it doesn't have an earpiece. Instead, it utilizes a receiver which actually vibrates the entire screen to actually create sound. It's kind of like that bone conduction technology we've seen elsewhere. The Sharp AQUOS Crystal is running a mostly stock Android 4.4.2 KitKat experience, save for a few of Sprint and Boost Mobile's customizations. You see that in some widgets and of course some of the preloaded apps that come with the phone. Now, purists will love that it is stock, but the question that remains is how quickly it's going to get updated to future versions of the platform. Much like the other handful of entry-level smartphones we've been seeing in the Android space, the Sharp AQUOS Crystal is powered by a quad-core 1.2 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon 400 processor with 1.5 GB of RAM and the Adreno 305 GPU. Now, for basic things, just like opening up apps and navigating across the interface, it does fine, but for more processor-intensive stuff like 3D gaming, it really slows down to a crawl. The only music player present here is the Google Play Music application. Now, as far as the audio quality, its single speaker in the rear produces 72 decibels of power, which is good, but unfortunately it just sounds a little bit subdued, muted in tone. It does offer Sprint's Clarify feature, so basically it optimizes the audio, the compressed audio, and when you do put on headphones, it does produce a more robust tone. Despite the strain it sometimes exhibits when it comes to 3D gaming, the handset is ideal for watching videos. There's decent codec support out of the box, and you can see this 1080p video here is running very smoothly. It also helps that the screen is pretty vibrant and robust. The handset is paired with an 8-megapixel autofocus camera, which is a pretty decent size for an entry-level device, and the results are also average. You get good looking details, there's a little bit of saturation with its color reproduction, and with its low lighting performance, a little bit on the noisy side at times, but it gets the job done for the most part. What's really refreshing here is that Sharp has outfitted the camera app with some very handy tools. In addition to the usual shooting modes and manual controls, they have this option here which allows us to frame shots accordingly, and the nice thing is that they give you guidelines based based on what selection you've made. Unfortunately, its 1080p video recording quality isn't as desirable. It's just a little bit disappointing. The biggest thing here is just it's pretty light on details, and the overall video just has a washed out tone to it. Now, it's certainly strange trying to make phone calls with the Sharp AQUOS Crystal. That's because it doesn't come with your usual earpiece. So it's really odd at first when you put it against your ear, just because you tend to think that there's an earpiece there. But instead, it utilizes this direct wave receiver, which actually vibrates the entire screen in order for it to create sound. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't work all that well. We just find that the audio quality is rather lacking. It's subdued, kind of muted, and in noisy environments, it easily drowns out. At the very least, its battery life is excellent. It's packing along a pretty beefy sized 2040 milliamp hour battery, and with our normal usage, we're easily able to get by through a solid day. For heavier usage, also through an 8-hour work shift, and in our battery benchmark test, it manages to achieve a tally of 7 hours 50 minutes from a full charge, which is again pretty excellent. Paired with a $150 outright cost as a prepaid option through Boost Mobile, the Sharp AQUOS Crystal isn't that bad of an option when you think about it. It doesn't really excel in all areas, but for the money, what it has to offer, and its cool looks, you can't go wrong. And considering that it's cheaper than comparable models like the Moto G, it does offer a fair amount of value. So if you guys want to learn more about this handset, you could check out our website, PhoneArena.com. It's John V. Thanks for watching.